To discuss the late, great Muhammad Ali and what he meant both for boxing and for Muslims, I'm joined from the UK by the boxer and Muslim, former two-time world champion, Olympic silver medalist, Amir Khan. Amir, thanks for joining me on UpFront. How did you feel last week when you heard Muhammad Ali had passed away?
It was a massive shock to us all, to be honest with you. I mean, it was a massive shock to me. I've been looking up to Muhammad Ali since I started boxing. It's one of the reasons I started boxing was because of Muhammad Ali. And when I heard that, I was really, really upset. I just didn't have anything to say. I was just really upset. And I'm glad I had the chance to meet him, not once but twice. And those moments when I did meet him are going to be very special to me in my life. When I first met him, it was literally after I came back from Saudi Arabia. I did my Umrah and I did my pilgrimage. And he stuck his hand out and shook my hand. He said to me, just, obviously well done for going there. But you could see everything about him. I mean, he was just such a charming guy. He was smiling all the time.
You say that you got into boxing because of him. He was an inspiration to you. How so? Did you watch all his fights as you were growing up in the 80s? I mean, his fights happened in the 70s. But were you an avid watcher of his fights?
I started watching a lot of his fights in the 90s. And me and my dad used to sit down and watch his fights. And I remember watching one of them, which was the Rumble in the Jungle, which was against George Foreman. And that was my favourite fight because one thing about Ali was, he was going into that fight as the underdog against someone who was going to take him out, knock him out, but he just turned the tables. He beat him. And first of all, what I liked about Muhammad Ali as well was he used to beat his opponents with his mouth, before the fight. I mean, he used to predict rounds, and that just never happens in boxing. And he just did things that were special, and whatever he said came true.
What impact do you think he had on boxing and on sport more broadly?
I think he put boxing on the map, really. Boxing in the early 60s was as known. When Muhammad Ali came on the scene with all the trash talking he did, I mean, people might not like it, might not liked it at the time, but I'm sure they got used to it. I mean, people started, taking more notice in boxing, and now especially boxing is one of the top sports in the world. And I think that's because of people like Muhammad Ali who made it at the top, who made it special, who made it, for the fans and everything else there.
And what do you think it is about boxing and about sport more broadly that helps break down barriers and brings people together regardless of race, religion, culture?
Yeah, Muhammad Ali was a Muslim, and if you look at the people who used to watch him fight, they were from all over the world. For example, when I fight, I'm a Muslim as well, and when I fight in front of thousands of people, and maybe 10% of the thousands of people that have come to watch me are Muslims. So the Jewish community come to watch me. I get the Christian community, the white community, the black community. They all come to support, and that's what sport does. Sport definitely brings everyone together, and I think Ali just did the same as well.
And how big a role do you think his faith played in terms of making him a role model for people like you? You say you're a Muslim boxer. He was a Muslim boxer who spoke repeatedly and publicly and proudly about his faith, about God, about what Islam meant to him. What role did that play in bringing someone like you, making someone like you a fan of his?
The reason I became a fan was because he spoke what he thought was right. He was never afraid to talk about anything. I mean, you get some people who just don't want to talk about their religion, and he made me the way I am as well, because I don't mind talking about my religion, being a Muslim. I'm proud to be a Muslim. And Muhammad Ali, in a way, I took that leaf out of his book, because he was one guy who used to always talk about being a Muslim, being a good Muslim, and also, by following the Quran. And for example, when he was asked to go to the war, he refused to go to the war, and he was put into jail. That was because of his Muslim religion that told him not to hurt innocent people. So, little things like that you kind of learn off people like Muhammad Ali.
And at a time when Islamophobia is on the rise in Europe, in the United States, across the West, do you think there are enough Muslim role models, not just in the sporting world, but in public life in general? I mean, we've lost a major one.
Yeah, I think we need more, to be honest with you, because, we need to show people that us Muslims, that we are good people. We respect everyone, and in the Quran it says we have to respect everyone and not hurt or harm anyone. So I just think that people have got the wrong end of the stick when they say Muslims are all bad. I think that's just the wrong way of looking at it, because in every religion there's always a handful of good and a handful of bad. It's just a shame that Muslim people always get pointed fingers at and always be seen as bad people. Because look at me, I mean, I'm a good person and I want people to follow my footsteps by doing good things with the community and everything else. And that's what Muhammad Ali did, the same thing. He did a lot of work for his religion and also did a lot of work with his community, regardless if they were Muslim or not.
Given people do see a lot of Muslims as terrorists, they see Islam, Muslims, they automatically think negative things. Do you think there's a burden? Do you feel a burden on someone like yourself who is a celebrity in the public eye, a sports star, you've represented your country? Do you feel there's a special burden, maybe an annoying burden on you to have to always say, well, look at me, I'm not the violent Muslim, I'm not the bad Muslim. And do you feel you have to speak out to try and cancel out that negativity?
I do all the time, and I'm happy to speak out because, you know, I stand to I stand up as a Muslim, as a proud Muslim, as a proud British Muslim person. And the reason I stand up is because I want to show people out there is that, look, all us Muslims are not all bad. I mean, there might be terrorist attacks happening around the world. I'm against that. Just like other Muslim people around the world who are against that. So I think it's wrong when people just point the finger at you. I think everyone's different in their own way. It's just a shame that there's a few people who make it worse for us all.
Do you think there'll ever be another Muhammad Ali?
It'll be very difficult. You know, it'll be very difficult. One person who was not only great inside the boxing ring, but even greater outside the boxing ring because he wanted to be known as a people's champion and always spoke what was right.
Just on you personally, Amir, as a professional boxer, former two-time world champion, you're 29 years old, you've been Olympic silver medalist, fought around the world. What's next for you in the ring? What's next for Amir Khan before you hang up your gloves?
Yeah, next for me, you know, I believe I'm at my peak. I'm a career now where I won the biggest fights, and the last fight was a massive fight. I moved up 2 weight categories against Saulo Alvarez. Obviously, didn't win the fight, but it's all about going back to the drawing board and seeing where we go from here. Now, I've got some huge fights in front of me in the 147-pound division. I'm still the #1 WBC titleist, so I can fight for that title anytime. I've still got some great years ahead of me, so I'll be back in the ring and I'll be coming back stronger.
Your parents are from Pakistan. You've done a lot of charity work in Pakistan. You've started a boxing academy there recently. But you also caused a bit of a stir recently saying you'd love to fight for Pakistan at the Rio Olympics this summer. You were accused of being anti-British, of being a traitor. What's your response to your critics? Yeah,
my response to that was, the reason I said that was because Pakistan has no fighters. Now, whereas Great Britain, where I'm from, I've already represented Great Britain in the Olympic Games in 2004. And the reason I said that was because Great Britain already has a full team. Now, it'd be so bad if I stepped in front of someone who already has qualified, and I stepped in there because I'm a bigger name. I'm going to ruin his dreams. So I didn't want to do that. That's what I said. That's why I said that I'd like to represent Pakistan, because in that sense, I won't be spoiling someone else's dream, if you get what I mean.
And do you still plan to do that?
Well, it just depends, because I'm under contract as a professional fighter, so I don't think my contract allows me. But look, if I am allowed to do that, look, I'd love to represent Great Britain again. But the only reason I said I represent Pakistan is because they've already got a fighter in my position, my weight category, and I don't want to spoil that fighter's dream, because the Olympics makes you, and the Olympics made me, so I would never want to do that to anyone.
Amir Khan, thanks for joining me on UpFront.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
That's our show. UpFront will be back next week.